Hey, good evening, everyone. John Henry Soto here. Welcome to Can We Talk Tonight. I'm so happy to have Jennifer Zinone on, who's running for Congress in the 10th District here in New Jersey. We're going to be discussing about a lot of the issues, and as always, Frank, myself, and Patricia are here, and Joshua Sotomayor Einstein is here as well. So we have a packed house today. So please join us, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Jennifer Zinone and Joshua to the show. Joshua, Jennifer,
Hey,
so much for being on.
Thank you
Um,
for having us.
yes, this is a really an exciting time for us. It is it's been crazy. I mean, I think we all can admit that the last year, 2 years has been just unprecedented as far as everything that has happened, especially this year in particular. But we're fighting, and I think for me personally, one of the biggest joys. I'm a walkaway guy. Walk away 2 years now.
Wow.
Um, and Frank is as well, and I think Trisha is as well. I think Joshua. We've all taken that walk. So, but one of the pleasures for me was meeting all the people that are really true patriots and that really love America and love God and are on a path of to really help our families and to help this country do better. And that to me has been a tremendous uh, value of doing this program and just really speaking out, because in the beginning we were scared. We were scared, but here we are now, 2 days to the election. And it's getting, yeah, it's crazy, but we're excited to be here. So Jennifer, this is amazing. You're running for Congress in the 10th district here in New Jersey. What was the why did you actually start doing this? What why did you do this?
I was so frustrated with
Yeah.
with everything that's been going on in Congress and just this stalemate where each side refuses to budge. And I got tired of having candidates come up that I really didn't like voting for on either
Mm.
side.
Mm.
Not that I'm saying that, they were all bad. I mean, I'm a Trump person. I love voting for him.
Right.
But I got so frustrated with the leadership that we had that just didn't seem to be doing anything for our area. And for years, I kept saying, someday I'm going to, have to run. Someday I'm going to have to. And I never really meant it. And then last year, over the summer, I heard something on the news that said that our district, or the 10th district, actually, the first thing was that American schools are 38th in the world.
I know.
And I didn't think that was true. I said there's no way that our schools could be that bad. So I went and looked it up. I love research, so I kind of dug down this rabbit hole, and yeah, it's 100% true.
Mhm.
And China is number one, and with everything that's going on now, we really need to do better. And
Yeah.
some of the schools in our district are rated the lowest in the country. So if we're 38th in the world, and then our district has the lowest in the nation, I mean, that's just
That's
it,
the
it's
bottom
awful.
line.
It's depressing because these children are being failed on all levels by the leadership, by the schools, and we have to, something has to be done. And I was told by our local school board president to stop talking about education. She said, my opponent never talks about education, so I shouldn't either. And that's what's wrong.
Wow.
That's exactly why there's no improvement. Why people just, keep perpetuating this cycle, throw money at it, and that's going to work. And it doesn't. Newark has $1 billion a year school budget. They get $850 million from the state. And they have the lowest performing schools in the state and the highest budget. And so obviously the funding is not the issue.
Right.
We need accountability, and we need leaders who are going to stand up and fight for these children. So I finally said, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll try.
That's so great.
glad you did.
Joshua, so I know you've been very involved in local politics as well. I'm going to start with you. If you have a question that you want to ask Jennifer, and then I think we'll just go around and talk about the issues.
So, what has been the most interesting conversation that you've had with ordinary people, not people that are involved, but ordinary people that you've met while you've been campaigning?
Interesting conversation. Wow. I've had quite a few. Okay.
Put her on the spot.
Yeah, seriously. Maybe this one. Actually, okay. Before the virus got bad, I was able to go door to door, and I met some really incredible people. And I was actually a little uncomfortable doing it first. I didn't know, I'm in a very Democrat area, and I'm going saying, "Hi, I'm your local Republican candidate." But a lot of them actually came out of their homes, and one guy even sat on the porch to talk to me. And that guy, I found out that he's in a local union, and his wife is in another union. And he told me that he was actually told by his bosses, or his union bosses, that he had to remove his American flag from his house.
Wow.
And I just found that appalling and shocking. And he said that the way it works is that they tell you what candidate you're going to support. And if they drive by your house and you don't have that candidate's sign out front of your house, they will actually put it there for you, or they will bring it to your house and tell you to put it.
Wow.
And that was just, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that this happens in this day and age and in America. But when I've repeated that story to a couple other people, they said, yes, absolutely, that's how it works. And I guess I was naive not knowing that.
Right.
But
That's wild.
It's awful.
Now, isn't that against the law?
I thought it was. Yeah.
I guess they're.
It is. It's voter intimidation.
Yeah, it's got to be against some kind of law.
I would think.
Yeah.
I saw something similar to that, not with the union, but locally, where this was for an election a few years back, where somebody who was known to be a Democrat had an opposing sign on their door. And the people from the Democrat side knocked on the door and like, what happened? So they had a conversation and they got him to switch signs. They said, all right, we'll take this off and here, you put this one, and I saw that as a little bit of intimidation, because that person has that sign there for a reason. I'm sure somebody didn't come and bully him from the Republican side, say, put this sign here. We don't care. You're a Democrat.
And I think that's the issue for the last couple of years, where Democrats have been bullying their way. And I think this year in particular, maybe last year, started where conservatives were coming out again and being like, no, we're not going to back down anymore. That's it. We're tired. We're not going to take this.
After we won, that's what happened. We won, and we realized that we were right all along. A lot of people didn't know about Trump. We heard about him and we knew him as an entertainer, but we didn't know him as a president. So a lot of people were afraid to stick their necks out and get it chopped off, because that's what was happening in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Well, don't you think they felt empowered?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just was going to say, I think people began to feel empowered, and they also felt that they had their freedom of speech back, because President Trump was saying what we are all thinking but afraid to say.
Yeah.
And I think people realized that they weren't alone anymore.
Right.
At least people that I know. I mean, they used to be afraid to tell people that they were conservative or Republican, because they just assumed everybody around them wasn't. And I think that in 2016, they learned that, there's a lot more people that believe the same way that I do.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for me, actually, coming out as a Republican, with people who I don't typically share my views with, not because I'm ashamed of them, but just because of the division and anger that kind of happened after 2016. Like, I have a family member who the day after the election declared herself part of the resistance. I didn't even know there was a resistance yet. So in a lot of my circles, people just stopped talking about politics until this year. But so I think that empowered, like you said, people to just stand up for what they believe, and just the realization of how far the left has gone and want to continue to go. I mean, Omar and AOC just last week said that Biden, if he wins, he needs to have progressives in every single cabinet position.
That's right.
It's terrifying.
Aggressives.
And yeah, so I think people see what's at stake, and they know that they have to stick up. They have to stand up and say stuff. You can't be quiet anymore. You can't.
Yeah. And in a sense, it's sort of a blessing that this happened because as I'm Puerto Rican, Frank's Puerto Rican, half Italian. We're from New York. We just were born. You're just born a Democrat. You come out of the womb, they stamp you Democrat, and you just go off on your life. But it wasn't until really recently, and I've always liked conservative policies. So I liked Ronald Reagan. George W. Bush was kind of a funny guy, but
I liked him after 9/11.
9/11, yeah,
that's what made me take notice. With
he did good after that, but it was really something that it happened for a reason, and I think it opened the eyes to a lot of Latinos and Blacks that were kind of like, well, wait, why am I automatically this? Just because I was born into this place.
Because LBJ said it.
Right. We've been for 70 years, they've been running my area. I was in the South Bronx, and 70 years, I haven't seen any improvement in that area, even till this day. So there is some improvement. And I know some of the local politicians over there, and they're not all, but their foundation is weak. They might have good intentions and they might have good programs here and there, but the overall foundation of it is weak. What's something that you would actually say to someone who's on the fence right now and they're just like, you know what, I just don't know what I'm gonna do. I just don't know yet.
I would tell them that they need to research the candidates, look at what they stand for. Don't listen to what the news media is telling you. Do your homework. And it's pretty obvious, I think, if you look into candidates about what their priorities are. Like my opponent, he has been in office for 8 years. I mean, he has, or he should have, after 8 years, a long history that you could look into and see, what positions are important to him, what he actually fights for. And if you look at that, the only thing that he actually got accomplished and passed into law is renaming a post office in Jersey City.
Yeah.
And I mean, come on. So if you look,
power to the people.
Yes, and Joe Biden, I mean, he has 47 years worth of a record to look into and see what he's accomplished. And if there's something that he actually accomplished in those 47 years that improved your life and that improved your family and friends' lives, then sure, vote for him. But please tell me first what it is, because I would love to know it. The man's been in office since before I was born.
Right.
And if he didn't accomplish it yet, do you really think he's going to accomplish it now?
Yeah.
He doesn't even have the interest.
Yeah.
He's just, I'm trying to win, and then he gets to go and relax. Somebody else will take over from there.
Right. And look at how much Trump accomplished in 4 years. I mean, people can hate the man. You don't have to want to have dinner with him. You don't want to have him over for Thanksgiving dinner with your family. But
I would love it.
Look at
me too.
I mean, he doesn't even take a salary.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
$1. He takes $1 a year from being president,
and he gets taxed. So.
I feel like if he came over to a family meal, he would bring over McDonald's, his favorite food.
Right.
Yeah, I'm all in. And it's hilarious how they bash him for that when the teams come or whatever. He gave them, because they assume that he eats filet mignon all the time, and he brought them what he eats. But people don't take the time out.
Yeah.
So look, and that's one of the biggest problems, that even to this day, people are still saying the lies that the media was telling them for 4 years, even things that were debunked a long time ago. They're still saying, oh, well, he said that the racists and the Nazis were good people.
I think also that the media has really they split. They figured out a way with the algorithms and the whole computer thing to split who you are and to just show you your people
Yeah.
And you see your people, and because it's ridiculous that Frank, you just told me the other day someone didn't see any videos of Biden, like, being inappropriate,
with the children.
And I'm like, how could you not have seen that? It's been played so many, but they're just not there. They're not part of what they want them to see. So that really makes it extremely difficult. And I think that a lot of those organizations like Facebook and all those guys, and we're on Facebook right now. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Facebook. Hey, Mark.
Hi, Zuckerberg.
Hey, Zuck. How you doing? But they will have to answer to that, because that is an incredible injustice what they're doing. And eventually, and I know that not all of them feel that way, but it is controlled by some entity.
What was it? It was. Sorry to interject, but the Facebook group that had tens of thousands of members, NJ Women for Trump, was banned from Facebook without any notification. Even made into the website NJ.com, which is owned by the same people that own the Star Ledger. I think the Garnet Group, something like that. They wrote an article about how this group was banned for no reason. The president tweeted about it. And it's just whoever is these board of unelected, unaccountable, institutionally corrupt people in our social media. They're just making whatever random decisions that they want. Like, this is not acceptable. That's not acceptable. Yeah. But it only comes down on one side. It's like it's the mirror image. Obviously, it's not with government, but it's the mirror image of when the IRS was going after conservative and libertarian and freedom-focused groups, because they advocated for a political philosophy which leans right, but they weren't going after left-wing groups that advocate for a political philosophy that lean towards the Democrats.
What was that? Sally Yates, was that?
I believe so, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. That was disgusting that they got away with that, because they slapped them in the hand. They caught them red-handed, slapped them in the hand, but it was like a government institution attacked people, and it was like, all right, we got caught. We normally don't get caught.
They still deny that it happens. And I know the old saying is that popularized by Andrew Breitbart, that the politics is downstream from culture. But I think they feed on one another, because there we have the IRS, people in the IRS doing it. And now, years later, we have people, essentially culture moderators in Facebook doing it. So I think it works both ways. Culture is downstream from politics, and politics is downstream from culture. They feed into each other.
Yeah. So on this show, we have all sides, people, right? So we have somebody coming in saying, stop hating on Biden, right? So it's not really.
John, can you ask them to tell you his accomplishments? Well, ask me this year, and we'll look at it later. I'm interested to know, because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm voting for.
Well, here's the thing. I don't hate on anyone just for the sake of hating. It's really easy to look at someone's record and just be like, the accomplishments aren't there, dude. I'm sorry. Sorry. They're not there. You can say whatever you want, but if you're going to look at you can go again to magapill.com and look at Trump's accomplishments. They're all listed right there with links where you can go follow them, dispute them, do whatever you got to do. Let me, give me something that Biden has. You don't have. So we're not hating on Biden. His record is not good.
It's speaking for itself.
His record is good. Our economy is strong. Jobs are here. We have most, lowest unemployment for Blacks, Latinos, women. I mean, everything has been like good. So it's not hating on Biden. We just really like Trump because he's making our, America great again, right? But he's making America what it should be. That's what it is. So if you have something to go against that, show us the record, and don't go to the 1994 crime bill, because that's your first downfall. So I just wanted to address that. Jennifer, when you decided to do this, did you kind of sit down and come up with a platform? Like you say, this is my platform. I'm going to run on this principle.
I did. I tried to, well, I'm a writer by trade.
Oh,
so
cool.
I did my website myself, and when I was trying to write, yes, exactly, like where I stand on each of these issues and what I think are important and what I think I could contribute to. I spent a lot of time on that before I went public, even announcing my candidacy, because I think that's important. I mean, people need to know and it goes back to, people with records. I don't have a record because I'm new. This is my first campaign.
Right.
So I felt it was really important to put out there exactly how I feel about each of these issues, so people would know what they're voting for, because I don't want people to vote for me because I'm a Republican and because I'm a woman. I mean, I hate that. And I don't think that that's the way our country is supposed to run. I want people to vote for me because they believe in the ideas that I've put forward. They believe that I can do a better job. So yeah, I spent a lot of time putting that together.
I have a quick question for you, Jennifer. How were you received by your party when you decided to come out? You want to talk about that? You don't have to.
I was not their chosen candidate. I was not received very well by the establishment. I had a very quick introduction to how local politics work, that I don't think most people realize that that's how their candidates are presented to them.
Right. Yeah, I got you. I've experienced that, so I know where you're coming from. I was just curious, how did they come to you? I like how you did that, John. Brought us all in closer.
I can see you better.
Yeah.
So, and I have one other question. You mentioned earlier that they were telling you not to talk about education.
Yes.
And you had mentioned that your opponent also doesn't talk about education. And we know why the Democrats aren't talking about education. Our education is jacked up, right? But for him to talk about it, he's only going to say that they're doing a bad job, right?
Yeah.
And they don't want to do that. Why are they asking you not to talk about it, though?
Well, I guess they don't want me to bring attention to it.
Sure.
The Democrats.
The president of the Board of Ed. I mean, it's a supposedly nonpartisan position, but they are Democrats. Very partisan Democrats.
Yeah. It's money. It's money.
And it's awful, because I don't understand how the Democrats can fight. And when I say the Democrats, I don't mean like the neighbor who's a registered Democrat. I mean the Democrat politicians.
Yes, absolutely.
In office. And I want to make that very clear. But so the Democrats that are in office, they don't want to bring attention to it. Like Donald Payne Jr., he lives in Newark. They have such abysmal ratings for their education that 80% of boys and 69% of girls age 15 in their public high schools are not at proficient levels of reading and math. They will never have a future if they can't read and perform basic math. And they fight against school choice. My opponent, Donald Payne Jr., is against school choice, but he sends his children to private school because the Newark public schools aren't good enough for his kids. I don't understand the hypocrisy that if you want to send your kids to private school, how could you fight against giving other parents in low-income areas that same choice? It's just, I don't understand it. And I don't understand how voters aren't angry at that and don't hold them accountable.
Yeah. I think they've gotten accustomed to it being the way it is, and they just think somebody else is going to come and just make it worse. That's probably what they make them believe. Oh, they're going to come and take this, because the whole thing. They're going to take this, they're going to take that. It's gimme, gimme, gimme. But if and the thing is, they won't even look at Trump's record. There's people that are against him, and they don't even want to look at it, and they don't even believe that it's a real record. They believe because they're getting fed so much nonsense by the media that nobody knows what's true anymore. So they just say, all right, I'll go with the majority. The majority, the outspoken majority, against Trump. And that's the problem.
Yeah. Gosh, Jennifer, if you get in, I think it would be really great if you could meet with Betsy DeVos and talk to her about her education plans for the USA, because the schools have just gone downhill, and their main objective is no longer teaching children what they need to know to be successful in this world. It seems to be that their agenda is more on a personal level, where they're kind of indoctrinating our children not even to love America anymore. They're anti-American. They don't even say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore, which is really a shock to me. And anyway, I think the bottom line is they don't want any criticism, because they'll lose their money. They'll lose their funding. People will become disenchanted, and they will no longer be allowing taxes to be raised to support the schools. But something radical needs to be done. And I'd really like to hear what some of these parents have said to you, or if they even know what's going on in the schools.
I've spoken to some that are very aware of it, but they don't necessarily agree with the reasoning. I spoke with one mother. She's in Montclair, and she has children that go to 2 different schools, and she said the education that they receive is widely different depending on what school it is. And we had a long discussion. She's an amazing woman. And they think that a lot of it came down to accountability. In the one school that she thinks is a fantastic school, and her child is getting a way better education than the child in the other school, she said that the PTA is unbelievably active in that school, and they make demands on the principal. They make demands on the school if they don't agree with the direction that the education is coming in. And she noticed that in the school where her child, she doesn't think is getting as good of an education, she said they don't really do that there. So that shows the interplay between the parents and the administration and all the leaders, and it's all important. The components, you all have to work together. I have one of my oldest friends is a teacher in a different district. And she teaches first grade, and last year she had a daughter in the first grade in a different district. And she said that when they went on lockdown in the district that she teaches in, she had to have online curriculum planned within days. They had to touch base with the parents every day. She had to have homework assignments. And when they submit it, she has to get back to the parents within an hour that she received it, and she has to grade them like within a day, and she has to have constant contact with the parents and with the children. But she said that it took an entire month for her daughter to get one assignment after we went on shutdown, a whole month. And she said that they never responded to any of her submissions the rest of the year. They never graded them, and they were told, don't worry, everyone's going to pass. And it should not be that wide of a discrepancy in the education children are getting. Right. And something needs to be done about it.
Yeah.
In New Jersey, are parents allowed to go to the school board meetings?
Anybody can go.
Anybody can go. Yeah. Okay. I would highly suggest that you try to activate people to do that, because they'll learn what's actually going on, and they'll be able to speak to other parents and find out other things that are going on that may not come out at a school board meeting.
Yeah, that's important.
Now,
and also, sorry.
Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, as an aside, and also, sometimes they have ridiculous arguments at school board meetings over the smallest nonsense ever, but then blow up into personal feuds. And like one time I went to a school board meeting in Hoboken, I brought popcorn because I knew that it was going to be that much of a stupid fight over something that really didn't have to do with anything. Right. But people became entrenched in their positions, and to them it was the end of the world, because you often get in tunnel vision when you get in these sort of fights, right? So sometimes it can be quite entertaining. But something has happened in Hoboken recently related to education, and I think where it shows we're, even after Trump is reelected, where we as grassroots Republicans and candidates and leaders have to step up to the plate. So for example, in Hoboken, they had an agreement with a payment in lieu of taxes pilot agreement with a developer. and now a lot of towns, in a payment in lieu of tax agreement, only the municipality gets the money, not the county and not the school board. So they don't get any tax money from that. So in a lot of towns, there's been pressure, including in Jersey City and Hoboken, for all pilot agreements to have some of that money go to the school board. No one pressures the town to have any of that money go to the county, because everyone knows, even though they never admit it out loud, that the county government is a waste of money. But there's a lot of pressure to give money to the BOEs. And so in Hoboken, there was originally an agreement that they'd give some of this pilot money to the BOE and to the charter. And now there was pushback by the BOE people, by the district schools, even though the charters are public schools, to only give the money from this pilot agreement, the portion that was going to go to education, towards the district schools. And that gives us an opportunity, not just to do the right thing, but also to build allies and relationships, because the charter schools, for example, in Hoboken, are there's three of them. They're too disunited, and they're too afraid of working, of being singled out, so they don't actually work together to put pressure on the city governments to get the nasty people that make up some of the people in the district schools, not a majority, but some of the loudest people. They don't work together, but it gives us an opportunity both to build relationships and also on the grassroots, and also to stand up and do the right thing and say, if you're going to give funding to the district schools from this money, then you should give at least some funding to the charter schools, because the charter schools are doing a better job. They're doing a better bang for the taxpayer buck. They're not leaving the kids behind. And it's ridiculous that we live in a situation where, people of money, like Donald Payne Jr., can make the choice to send their kid to a better school, but working class folk can't make that choice.
Yeah.
So that gives us an opportunity there. Another opportunity at grassroots level, I think, after President Trump is reelected and after Jen is hopefully elected, is, for example, many times the Chamber of Commerce in a town, or the Hoboken, or like a business alliance, like in Hoboken, we have a useless Chamber of Commerce, and then we have a new useless quote-unquote business group called the Hoboken Business Alliance, which is just as useless as the Chamber of Commerce, only they put up lights at taxpayer expense. They said, when the mayor of Hoboken said we're going to have a curfew for bars and restaurants at 12 a.m., they said, we regret this, but it's better than there being another shutdown. And, there's a lot of business owners that I've talked to in Hoboken that are willing to say off the record, anonymously, we're against this. This is horrible. We wish there was something they could do. And I have a fair amount of media contacts, and some of them asked me if I could hook them up with bar owners, restaurateurs that would talk to them. And I tried to make the connection, but no one would talk on the record because they're all afraid. And whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or the Business Alliance, they're failing the businesses. They're failing the hourly workers that are having their hours cut, not because their boss, but because some bureaucrat has decided COVID only goes out at nighttime. So that provides us another opportunity, to build those alliances, to be the voice for common sense, and to be the voice that these people need, and they're not going to pat us on the back right away. It takes a long time of sustained effort to do these things. And even after President Trump wins, and even after we elect Jennifer, we still have to build that, that movement to drain our local swamp, not just at the national level, but where we live.
Yeah, it's definitely the beginning. When Trump wins and Jennifer, it really is an opportunity for us to really kind of say, okay, start. Because that's really now when we have an opportunity. Now we have a voice. We're actually a lot stronger than we've ever been. I mean, I think that the base, and even in local, even here where I am, it's a very, very democratic place. I'm in Bayonne, New Jersey, with Frank, and it's very, very democratic.
We love our Democrats, because we've made friends. We came from New York, John and I both, and we're very friendly with a huge majority of, but it's a political thing,
You know what it is? It's nice to be able to have another voice. Why can't we just have a conversation, a civil conversation in our own community? It's nothing wrong with I do like our mayor. I do like a lot of the people that I've supported, a lot of them. I've actually done events for them, with them. But it's because my family's here, I live here, and I want this place to do well. Now if we have another voice, well, I think that we'll do better. So I think it's the grassroots. What Joshua was saying is so important to really come out on day one and be like, okay, so let's have a conversation. Let's start this today. What's some of the somebody's really upset here. What's Jennifer, what one of your first things that you've been talking about, that you would do or that you would address?
Well, education. I mean,
Yeah.
if you hear anything I say, I think I'm always talking about education.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I think healthcare is the second thing that I've noticed, just talking to people, that is important to them, but not necessarily just healthcare, but healthcare costs. Because I know people who have been priced out of their healthcare with Obamacare. I have a cousin who had a family of 4 and loved his plan until Obamacare took effect, and it skyrocketed to $3,500 a month and an $8,000 deductible per person. He said that it was cheaper to drop it, pay the penalty when there was a penalty, and pay out of pocket for his family with 2 small kids.
Wow.
And then his wife got pregnant, and he panicked because he didn't have insurance. And it still came out to be cheaper for him to pay out of pocket with prenatal care, with 2 nights in the hospital, and delivery, and the first year of the infant's care. And it was still cheaper for him out of pocket. And that is just not.
He paid the fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
What good is having health care if nobody can afford it?
Right. And you think about it. Yeah. I mean, you think about it, it's like they set it up that way. Listen, the fine is going to be cheaper, so just pay us. We don't care about your health care. We want our cut. Because if that was the case, you would make the fine more money, right? Yeah. To make it where they had to come. But no, they made it cheaper because they didn't really want to have to cover you. They just wanted your cut of the money without providing you with any kind of coverage.
I denied Obamacare. I said I didn't need it. I don't want it. And then I got a bill or a fine, I guess, of it went up to like 180 or something. I'm like 180. I'm not paying that. And then luckily it got Trump came in and said you don't have to pay that ridiculous thing.
Right.
But education is really important. Like, Frank and I grew up in areas where we were just failed. Our schools just failed us, and they're still failing. My wife is a teacher in Irvington, and Irvington is a really rough neighborhood. And she's been doing a lot of this type of teaching, like kind of what we're doing right here, every day.
Awesome.
And unfortunately, a lot of the kids in that area don't have fast internet or a nice computer where they can. So they were getting Chromebooks, but these Chromebooks have to be attached to a Wi-Fi. They got to pay the monthly fee. So there's that going on where they're not getting even in this situation when we think we're all kind of in the same boat. We are certainly not in the same boat.
Yeah.
It's really not. So education is a really big factor in what Patricia said earlier about the indoctrinating of our kids. I think that's actually been a really scary thing. We homeschool. We have a Christian program that we belong to, and we homeschool our daughter, and my son is only 4. But I would never put my kids back in school again. It would have to be like a tremendous overhaul of the system. Trisha, I wanted to ask you about what was happening in your area, and see if there was something that we can interject. You were telling us last week about, can't even remember, but we were having a great conversation last week. What's happening in Delaware?
Well, we're all really sort of winding down the campaigns. I've kind of had my fingers in just about every single campaign that's going on in the state, except for the very local districts. My own district, I am working with our district representative, but he doesn't have an opponent. So, and he's a Republican. So it's not been a crazy campaign. However, I have never seen a finer team of Republicans running for office in the state of Delaware in my entire life, and people who have worked really hard and have campaigned like I've never seen politicians campaign. They're out there up and down the state every single day. And today we had, believe it or not, in the blinding rain that we had here today, we had a Trump caravan, and there were people who were out standing with flags and saluting the people in the caravan. Now, I didn't participate in it because I had something else going, and I have a friend that's getting ready to move to Florida. And so we had a big farewell dinner for her tonight. So I could be out standing in the rain all day today.
No.
I had other things I had to do, but yeah, we're winding down, and I think it's looking really good. And the biggest challenge that we have had going is we're trying to get our governor out. Julianne Murray, who is a constitutional lawyer, she's been running against him and has run a very successful campaign. And the Republican Party has made a lot of inroads in this state. And I've had Democrats call me and say, I have been a Democrat my whole life, but I don't like what I'm seeing. I am looking at all the candidates, and unfortunately, because of COVID, even though our folks have been out campaigning, it still hasn't gotten to the level of the neighborhood. Some neighborhoods, they won't let you door knock, and you can't do the lit drops and all of those things. You just can't do those things. So people still don't know about our candidates, except maybe for Zoom calls and things that I tell like people in my neighborhood or people that call me and want to talk to me. But yes, I've had some Democrats tell me they're going to vote all the way down Republican.
Wow. Yeah. I've converted a few Democrats just the other day. And it's mainly because people they see all the craziness is going on, but they don't know what to believe. And the good thing about being on the Republican side is that you can point to evidence, proof. You can show them where here's your record, here's his record, here's this record. Go ahead, go research it now. And like John was saying before, I had spoke to another group, a woman that didn't know about a lot of the things that Joe Biden, like there are all kinds of videos of his own words and his own actions.
Right.
Never seen any of them. In all these time that he's been running, she had heard about one thing that I showed up, but the rest of it, she had never even seen it before.
Yeah.
And people don't know that instead of using a Google search engine, they should be using DuckDuckGo. You can actually find
that's right. You got a better shot.
Be blocked. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did a whole show based on just the platforms that are really compromised and the ones that you can go on where you can actually be heard. But education, I think, Jennifer, is on point, saying that is really because we need to actually make sure that this next generation in the next 20, 30 years we're going to lose our country. We're going to lose our liberties, our freedoms. And an example is somebody here is posting stuff, and he says the environment is more important than education. So, you listen to someone say that, and you think, okay, the environment is important, of course, but who is going to study the environment so they'll know what to do? It's education.
Right.
So everything is based on education, and to say something like that, it just shows. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just say it's long term. It's a long-term investment. It's not an immediate fix. It's going to, like you said, in 20, 30 years. Because, who is going to solve the environmental problems? It's children that are in college students. With this Common Core math, how are they going to go into engineering and physics? And
they're going to laugh at them when they get to the table.
Yeah. So, and it's also the only way that we're going to break this cycle of poverty. in our nation, because nobody is going to have a successful future unless they have a quality education. And it doesn't necessarily mean college. We used to teach technical training and skills in
Trade
our high
schools.
schools, and many of them don't anymore. Kids should get out of high school with a skill that they can use in their life if they don't want to go to college, you know.
Right.
Absolutely.
I love that Trump is making apprenticeships wider. He's investing in them and job training, because that's just as important. And when we're seeing the type of quality of education kids are getting in college now, it's not the same as it was when I went there. I was studying math and science, and now they're learning about how horrible our country is.
Yeah, I know. Imagine $100,000 that you can use towards a business instead of learning how horrible our country is. Jennifer, I have a quick question. One of our viewers, a good friend of ours, Alex Rodriguez, has a quick question. He says, first, hello, and he hopes you make it. But he wants you to explain to us, for those of us who are unaware, what are the districts that the District 10 represents?
Okay, it's a crazy zigzag. They talk about gerrymandering. It is not solely a Republican thing, because this is done, we're a Democratic state, but it is part of Hudson, part of Union, part of Essex. It is in Hudson. It is half of Bayonne. It's mostly from 16th Street up, and from the Bay to the Boulevard for half of it, and then to Avenue C, and then to Broadway, and then the rest of it. It's a crazy zigzag. It's part of Jersey City. And then in Essex County, it is Montclair. It's all of the oranges. It's Mountainside, Newark. It is Bloomfield. Then in Union, it is part of and some of these towns, it's just a little piece of it. But it's part of Union. It is it's Roselle Park. It's Rahway. It's Hillside. It's Irvington, and it's Linden.
Wow.
I know I'm missing. It's 18 different cities, and I think I just said 17.
Okay. So Irvington is in there too.
Yes, Irving.
Yeah.
So your wife's district is in my district. Yes.
Awesome.
Wow. And parts of Bayonne.
Yes.
That's so wild that you got Irvington, Linden, and Bayonne.
Yeah. And we go all the way down to Roselle.
Yeah.
Like, it's a skinny little strip. It's crazy little zig. You should see the line. The map. It's crazy.
But I guess it's kind of nice that you get that. It's not like one section that you kind of go through the whole, not the whole state, but you go a good portion of the state to really be able to
northern state anyway
maneuver, in those states, and to really make some changes across the state, not just
I hope so.
Yeah, so that's great. So we're just about almost at an hour. I kind of wanted to give Jennifer the floor to kind of like present her mission and Tuesday, and motivate make sure we get our voters out there. Please get out and vote. Make sure it's really important. So take it away, Jennifer.
Thank you. I think the most important thing is that people need to vote. It's so important. And I know there's been so much fear spread about what Murphy did with our voting. And I don't agree with what he did at all. I've joined protests against it, but it's the situation we have. It's the only option we have. And people need to get over their fears and vote, because we will never win if you don't vote. And in Union, I know I was telling you guys this earlier, and I posted it on my Facebook page, that in Union County so far, only 17% of the ballots that have been returned are from Republicans. And that is just not enough. We need to vote. The Democrats are voting. So we have to get out there. You have to talk to your family and your friends and get them to vote. You have 2 days left.
Yeah.
You can't just, complain about it and then not do anything. This is our shot. And and what I've been seeing across the state and across the country with all of these Trump parades that you were talking about and all of these Trump rallies, I mean, there are thousands of people that are showing up in Democrat areas for Trump parades and Trump rallies. It's amazing. Josh and I were at one a couple weeks ago. There were 3,500 people, Republicans, at a Trump rally where Trump wasn't even going to.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine in New Jersey?
And Jennifer spoke, and she knocked it out of the park.
Yes, it's amazing.
Got lots and lots of applause.
Well, thank you.
Sorry, I missed it.
It was, I mean, it was amazing being there. And so we have to vote, and these are our last shot. I mean, the energy that is taking over right now is contagious, and we need to ride that all the way to wins in Tuesday, all the way up and down the ballot. Because what I've learned so much during this campaign is how important even our local candidates, I mean, are. They have a huge effect on your life, on your family's life, on your businesses. And I think everybody's seeing that now with this COVID. And so you have to get more involved at the local level all the way up to the top. It's so important. And like Josh was talking earlier, also about this grassroots movement, it can't stop on Tuesday. We have to continue, make strides, because my district is one of the top 10 Democratic districts in the nation. There has been, it's crazy. There has been a Democrat in this seat for 70 years, and it has been in the Payne family for 30 years. It passed from father to son like an inherited title. He doesn't even bother to campaign. He raised $500,000 last year, and he doesn't spend any of it himself. He gives it to other Democrat candidates across the state and across the nation because he doesn't feel the need to even bother campaigning in his own district. It's just like a given that he's going to win. And we need to stop that. And it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to, we need this grassroots movement that's taken a hold, and we need to continue working, because even if it doesn't turn red this time, we've made inroads, and
big time.
We've gotten people to open their eyes and see, the Republican ideas aren't so bad. They might actually improve our lives.
And we're not so racist either.
Yes. So I say make this long term. And little by little, we will take this state and turn it red. I think that it's going to go purple this time. Absolutely. I have no doubt we're going to win some of these seats. But yeah, I have faith that we can turn New Jersey red within a few years.
Yeah. And looking at some of the rallies and some of the polls that came out, and you have to look at polls very, objectively at this point. But some of the two big polls that I can't even pronounce one of them, but they're the ones that really called it in 2016, where all the polls had Hillary slaughtering everybody, like 90%, and just completely off the base. They're also seeing this tremendous increase in African-American votes and Latino votes and for Trump. That has never been, I don't think any Republican has ever had this many votes from Blacks and Latinos in the history. And it's a very exciting time. So whatever happens, our base is strong. We're moving forward. And I think, like what you said earlier, Jennifer, we are not alone now. We know we're not alone. We know that there are people right across the street that feel the same way, especially business owners and people that want their businesses to succeed and have families here and love America. And immigrants that came here and built businesses, they want this to work, and that's really a strong thing for us to say. And we have people coming on, and unfortunately, they're not educated enough in the issues to make a good case for themselves, and those are the ones that we really have to work on. It's not saying that you're wrong. It's saying that just look at these two things. This is all we're doing. We're saying, look at this and look at this. Which one do you like better? This one that raises your taxes and is going to imprison who knows how many minorities at this point, or this one that's actually going to give you liberties and freedom, then the opportunity to go out and make something of yourself. And that's what we all have, an opportunity to go out. And we all had the same thing. South Bronx kid, Coney Island, Brooklyn kid, should not be on this show right now talking about this, right? We should be, whatever statistic.
Playing Skelly and handball and breakdancing.
Right.
I was a Vineland, New Jersey kid.
There you go. So we should not be in this situation, but here we are because we've opened our eyes and we want to be successful and we want to provide for our families. So, Jennifer, I want to thank you so much. We normally, Frank and Tricia and we just go on talking. So
that's a good thing.
We've gone on sometimes for like 2 hours here, but we don't want to keep you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good luck
on. We have not gone 2 hours.
Yes, we have, dude. We have. Go look at the old shows. 2 hours.
I thought you meant right now. I was like, it's not 2 hours.
No, not right now.
Not now. No, not now.
An hour.
Yeah.
Whatever you need. Where should people go to? Where can they find your website? Like to look you over.
I put it up. That's when you said.
Up already?
Yeah. Remember when you said that I brought it closer?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm Jen Zinone. There it is.
There we
and
go.
I'm also on Facebook too. You can look at Jennifer Zinone or Jen Zinone for Congress is the campaign site. And speaking about, why, choose one or the other, I actually had a woman ask me a few months ago. She was a lifelong Democrat. And she said, why should I vote for a Republican? And she was the first person that asked me, that question. And it's such an important one. So I actually did a whole series of videos addressing that, like the main differences between Republican and Democrats. So those are all on my Facebook or on my website there.
Definitely. I went through a lot of the videos last night and they were great, and they have a lot, the issue right there, your views, the issue, your views. I mean, it just makes sense. Go down and look at it. If somebody says it and disagrees, which I always find it shocking that they do, but if they do, that's fine. But at least there it is, and they have an opportunity to make that decision for themselves.
Well, if they disagree, they can comment. I've had some really interesting discussions with people who disagreed with me on Facebook. Yeah. They asked me questions. A couple times we went back and forth like 5-6 times with each other. And that's fantastic. That's the way it's supposed to work in our country. People with different views and, well, why do you think this way? Well, why do you think this way? And some people have good ideas on each side and we can learn from each other. And that's the way it's supposed to work. So if anybody disagrees with me, tell me on Facebook and I will happily listen to you and discuss things with you. It's fantastic.
Unlike a lot of other politicians that don't want to talk about the hard stuff. They want to sweep it under the rug or hit that delete button.
Yeah.
Or block you or something.
So, Joshua, I wanted to get your final thoughts also, since we have about 3 minutes or 2 minutes here. What are your, you've been really on, doing a lot of grassroots campaigning, and you've been really involved with the base. What do you see for Tuesday?
So I see for Tuesday a big win. I'll take any win, of course. But even God forbid the worst happens, and Biden is the president, and then quickly followed afterwards, Kamala Harris becomes president.
Yeah, like
which some quarters of the Democratic Party actually wants to happen. The battle is the same, whether or not Trump wins, and I do think he's going to win. I think he's going to win bigly, as we said. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. All right, so I do think it's going to be a huge win. But even in the case that he doesn't,
like if they cheat, you mean?
If they cheat, if they win legitimately,
that's the only way they're going to win it.
Our battle is still the same. The battle for the hearts and mind of convincing people, as Jennifer was saying before, as we've all been talking about, of trying to persuade our friends and neighbors and showing people whether they're people that should be fighting for charter schools or for charter schools really are public education reform, because public education is not synonymous with public schools, and the Democrats conflate those two issues as they do many issues. So whether it's that sort of thing or anti-business regulations, or in New Jersey, many other blue states, how the governors have made COVID worse by mandating that sick subacute cases, not very severe cases of elderly patients, be required to be taken back into elderly care homes. That's been a result of around 50% of the case mortality instances of COVID, the casualties of COVID. About 50% in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and California, I believe, have been from these elderly care places. And that's a direct result of the fact that the state government said you had to take them in by penalty of law. You had to take them back in. So people will see, as long as we keep on making the message. Right now, a lot of people in New Jersey, and I'm sure other blue states, have it's like when we go to the bar and we have a drink or two and we get beer goggles and things look, some things look better than they did, without the beer before the drinks, right? So right now, so much of New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, California, they're essentially they're wearing beer goggles, not because of alcohol, but because of hysteria over COVID, a caution over COVID, right? Some of it warranted, some of it hyped up, but it's still there, and they can't see these governors for the failures that they are. And I don't know about other states, but I know in New Jersey, the day is coming for Murphy, for him to get the boot, because eventually the people of New Jersey will realize 50% of our COVID death count was a direct result of his executive orders, that the deaths of thousands of businesses in New Jersey, the loss of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs in New Jersey was a direct result of his orders. Not that all of them were wrong, but that governing by one man and governing by double standard, as the Democrats do, brings you to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And same thing goes for New York with Cuomo. I think he's also on the cutting board.
I heard he wrote a book about how great he did with COVID.
Before it's over.
I didn't know he wrote fiction.
Yes.
Well, he probably paid a ghostwriter to write it anyway.
Right.
So. Of course, somebody wrote it, said, "Hey, we can make some money. Let me write this."
Yeah, it's a good time to make some cash.
Crazy.
All right, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Jennifer, thank you so much for being on. Joshua, Tricia, as always, Frank, thank you everybody for being on. Let's get out there and vote on Tuesday, everybody. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
My pleasure.
Thank you to the guests, too.
Yes.
I mean,